want to share with you an incredible story, because this story I read in a book recently, and it really talks to this point of the Re'eh Lefneichem. You, the individual, make a right decision. You, the individual, decide to do something a little bit out of your comfort level, and the Lefneichem, it could be literally a big difference in Klal Yisrael. We just never know. What an amazing story about two guys who went to the coastal. This happened last decade. It's a recent story. Two guys decide to drive from Ashdod to the coastal one evening to Daven Ma'ariv at the coastal. What a wonderful idea. And they come back late. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. These two guys come back from Ashdod, from the coastal at 2 o'clock in the morning, and they're walking home. And as they're walking home, they notice that the shoe lights are on. Shoe lights are on. Now think about it. Just at this point alone, just right there, then and there. Okay, shoe lights are on. Shoe lights are on. One guy says to his friend, you know what? Why should the shoe lights be on? If there's nobody in the shul, then I should shut the lights. Why should they waste electricity? What's a few dollars? What's a few cents? But you know what? The guy had a nice thought. I'm sure he wanted to go home. But he decided to go out of his way, a small step. And Rabbi said, listen what happens from a small step. Just listen to this. Incredible stuff. He takes a small step to go to the shul to check to see if anybody's inside. And sure enough, there's somebody inside. 2 people. 2 people are in the shul in Ashdod, 2 o'clock in the morning on a, Wednesday night. One of them is a teenager who's preparing for some bechina, so he's shagging away preparing for a test. And the other fellow is a koilel fellow called Moshe. And Moshe's crying. Moshe's crying. Guy in his late 20s, early 30s, and he's crying. What's going on? He goes over to Moshe, what's the deal? So Moshe says, and I'll just cut right to the point. Moshe says, my wife threw me out of the house. I came home tonight. She says to me, you're learning Torah, but you're not taking care of your family. We have no food in the house. Your children went to bed hungry. Your children we don't have soap or shampoo in the house. I can't handle this anymore. And she locked herself in the bedroom. She locked the door, and I heard her crying in the bedroom. And I came here and I said, what am I going to do? So I decided to turn to HaKadosh Baruch Hu by saying another moment in time. We have a challenge. We have a difficulty. What do we do? So one of these guys from the Kosel decides, who came back from the Kosel, walks into the shul. This other guy has a challenge with his financial well-being, and there's no food in the house, there's no money that he has. What does he do? He turns to HaKadosh Baruch Hu and he starts crying at 2 o'clock in the morning in a shul in Ashdod. So the fellow says to him, Moshe, I have some shampoo. Let me go back I'll be back in a couple of minutes. He walks outside and he thinks it over and he says, he needs more than shampoo. So he tells his friend what happened, that this Moshe is really stuck. He says, you know what, let's go to a market. I got 200 shkalim. He says, how much you have? Yeah, I have 200 shkalim. Let's go get him Shabbos. Another moment in time. Some people can walk away. It's not my problem. It's not my headache. These 2 guys decide to find a market in Ashdod at 2 o'clock in the morning to buy this guy stuff for Shabbos. There's only one market. And you know what the name of the market is? 24/7. It's a 24/7 market, flashing lights. They weren't very, very happy because 24/7 in Israel means you're open on Shabbos. But they decide, listen, they got to get this guy food for Shabbos. He's got to go back home with soap and shampoo and challah and gefilte fish and some meat, because otherwise what's going to be? So they go into the store and they spend their 400 shkalim. They come out and they realize if they're going to use the bags from the store that say 24/7, it's not going to work. The guy's going to be very upset. He's a really serious kollel guy. They decided to start taking all the stuff out of the bags and their hatchback, and they're putting the stuff in the back. They started to take the stuff out of the bags. Much to their lack of awareness, the owner of the market was watching this. So he walks over to the guys in the back and says, what are you guys doing? The guys in the back of the car, what are you guys doing? Like they start getting a little nervous. Well, and they couldn't lie. They said, well, we're buying this stuff for this Kollel fellow who really needs help, and he's a very serious guy, and he wasn't going to be happy if we bought it at 24/7 because it means it's open on Shabbos, and we're not here to tell you what to do with your life. But so they thought that he's going to start yelling at them, the chutzpah, what are you doing? It's not right. He breaks down crying. He breaks down crying. And they asked, did I say something wrong? I'm sorry. What did I say? He said, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. Rabbi said, just look how HaKadosh Baruch Hu weaves the world. He says, you don't understand. He says, I am not a religious Jew, but I've started getting more and more religious. And I had a chavrusa, they paired me up, even in America they do this. They pair up yeshiva guys with secular Jews, and they learn together, and very often they change people's lives that way. It's an incredible program. So there was a fellow I was learning with for 6 months. And I really was growing in Yiddishkeit, and the guy had to move away. And now he doesn't live there any longer. And I would give him my meiser money. Every week I would give him my meiser money because he learned with me. So I gave him my tzedakah. It was a win-win situation. And now you're telling me, 2 o'clock in the morning, I come out here, and what happened? And I decided, and I turned to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, he says to those guys, he said, I turned to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and I started praying to him today. Please, God, I want to get back to connected to you. I want that Elul to permeate my soul. I want to be connected to you. You took away my chavrusa, can you help me out? And what happens? 2 o'clock in the morning. You come into my store, and you unload stuff for a guy who clearly needs money. I have a proposition for you, he said. And he turned to one of them, and he said, I want you to learn with me 2 hours a week. If you learn with me for 2 hours a week, I will give my meiser money, because I see you don't need it, Baruch Hashem. I'll give my meiser to that guy who you're going shopping for. I will give him my meiser money. What an incredible story, which it wasn't even over at that point. It's never over. The stories always continue, Rabbi Isai. But just stop and reflect. From one person deciding to take one step towards a shul, to check to see if I can close the lights and save the shul a few prutas, a few shkolim. What happens? A Kohl guy gets supported, and he's able to stay learning, doesn't have to get a job at that particular point in time. This fellow's life starts changing because he has a chavrusa. And after 6 months, Rabbi Isai, the store changed its sign and it changed its name. It went from being 24/7 to 24/6, Rabbi Isai. 24/6. From one little moment in time of a fellow saying, let me check out this shul. If you think for a second that we can't change people's lives, and we'll never sometimes even know it. We don't even know what we're doing sometimes, but when you can go into a store and act like a mensch and do something nice and return a mistake